Hey everybody, my name is Patricia and I have recently learned a way to improve my life. Heads up though, it's not like entirely legal or ethical, but man do I love it so much. I'm blackmailing my stepfather. He and I have a shared secret. And so that my mother does not know it as well, my stepfather does whatever I order. Uh, Now I know what you're thinking. This doesn't sound very good on my end, but it's really convenient when you need pocket money, or you really want to go to your friend's house, but your mother won't let you. You just need to go to your stepfather and remind him of our secret, and now I have everything I could ask for, and even more. No. I'm sure I've given you all the wrong impression. If you have thought of something really bad and horrific, don't worry. In fact, our secret is really very simple. My stepfather's just cheating on my mom with a much younger girl. I'm sure things like this happen all the time. You see, I accidentally caught them and filmed everything on my phone. Of course, my stepfather tried to argue. He even once sneaked into my room to steal the phone, but he failed to do it. I had already copied all the information in advance and uploaded it to the cloud. I knew it would come in handy. So even losing the phone won't change anything. And Don will obey me as long as I wish. It's not profitable for him that Mom would find out about this secret of ours. And all because poor Donald, my mother's new love, is young, unemployed, and loves my mother's money very much. He, like me, knows perfectly well that my mother is loaded. She's so rich, even if she's practically an old lady by now. But she supports him and his spending habits. He buys expensive cars, suits, even fancy underwear and socks. All at my mother's expense. And in return, he just needs to be handsome and smile at her. I'm sure you can understand that the mistress does not quite fit into his contract, because rather reasonably, my mother does not like to share her men with other people. Even if she has no time to personally track where her young husband spends his time, she will no doubt still believe the photos and the videos without question. And Dawn really doesn't want to return to the lifestyle of a starving artist again, because living on the sofa in Gucci pajamas is way more comfortable than living in a barn without heating and wearing a torn sack. I can hear you now. You're probably saying, "But isn't she your mother? How can you do that to her?" Well, to be honest, my relationship with my mom is, not good. I honestly don't feel sorry for her at all, because this was her choice, to marry Don and to keep him together with her favorite lapdogs. At least Hector and Lucy are useful. At least they look nice. Don, he's got no special talents other than listening to me. To be quite frank, I've never really seen my mother face to face. I mean, she probably took care of me when I was like a little girl or a baby or whatever, but by the time I was 5 years old, she was replaced in my life with a nanny. And it stayed that way forever after. Although I'm actually 15 years old now, I do have an excellent relationship with my nanny, and I love her dearly, but my mom? I once wanted her to be the closest person to me. I even cried at night and fought with the nanny. I had thought that it was because of her that my mother didn't come to me. But my mother worked all the time, made the money, built a business, and only once in a couple of months could she spend more than 15 minutes at breakfast with me. And now I'm practically an adult, and my mother constantly bails on me, even now. Her personal life is being built with Don. She chose to spend her time with him rather than me. Well, I say that, but it's being built in the same useless methods that she used with me, just ignoring him and pampering him with money instead of communicating properly. So she really has no room to complain that he found himself his own nanny. Besides, to be honest, Don is pretty cool in his own right. Before him, my mother had several pricks. They were condescending and always trying to command me around. At least this guy understands what can and cannot be said to a teenager. And before I blackmailed him, he used to cover my parties, went to school instead of my mom if I asked him to, and, stuff like that. So all I have now is just a guarantee that nothing will change. And, well, I mean, at least I don't need to beg him anymore, which is also pretty nice. Recently, for example, my stepfather tried to throw his weight around, telling me that a 15-year-old shouldn't drive a car. But I'm not some kind of fool or a kid. I wasn't going to crash his Porsche. So I drove down the highway and he sat next to me and only tried to boss me around from time to time. And if not for my blackmail, he would never have let me driven anyway. Oh, or another example that happened just the other day. My friends were having a party on someone's yacht. Mom and the nanny, of course, didn't want me to go there, but my stepfather drove me there personally. He also dropped some condoms in my purse, just in case. And then he lied to my mother that I was actually with a friend and did not want to see her because I felt offended at her. That's what I call convenient. Truly, sometimes I still think, what would happen if I had a normal family? A dad and a mom who both actually cared about me. I'm sure families like that really do exist, and the kids who grow up in such families probably whine that they are constantly monitored. But if I'm being really honest, I think I would gladly change my carefree life with no restrictions, all that blackmail and those parties, for a real mother and a dad. Not like Dan, but like a real father. One who loves me and listens to me and who cares about me.
Hello everybody, my name is Betty and I'm completely horrified by what is happening in my family. Yes, I am Pat's mother, and yes, I'm not blind to her transgressions. At the moment when I had to make a choice, I thought that I didn't want to be a single mother from a trailer park, and I chose a business that just started to become successful. If only I could turn back time. In my opinion, I'd rather live in a trailer park, but with a loving family. So then, immediately after giving birth, I went into business. The company was just gaining momentum, yet no one believed that I would succeed. And my husband, Pat's father, was especially furious. He believed that his salary as an office clerk was enough for us. He did not understand my ambitions and the fact that I rarely stayed with the child. Usually my mom or my husband himself had to care for her. And I thought that my husband was just oppressing me, and I was pretty angry at him. As a result, we parted ways. More precisely, he just packed his things and went to the one who prepared dinner for him and ironed his shirts. And I was left with a daughter in my arms and a bunch of things that could not be postponed until later. So a nanny appeared in our house. I am infinitely grateful to Nancy, because it was she whom, while I was away, became a real mother for Pat. But apparently she could not completely replace me, because my daughter grew up, not into a very good person. Yes, I completely understand that this is my fault and mine alone. I myself chose money and a career, not family. But I really believe that it was for our common good. And at first, I didn't want to see or hear anything. For me, my daughter was the perfect child, always dressed like a doll, educated and obedient. All conflicts, teenage problems, disobedience went to Nancy, and she clearly could not cope with all that. Well, more precisely, maybe a good spanking would help. But she was just a nanny and could not do that. So my daughter grew up and realized that everything was allowed as long as she pretended to behave like an angel. I learned the truth later, when it was too late to change anything. Pat wore the mask of an angel all the time, and everyone was sure that I had a golden child. But it turned out that this gold looked more like copper. Pat lied a lot and with gusto about her studies, about where she disappeared in the evenings, about her marks, about her grades, and I decided on a controversial move. I hired a private detective to find out the truth. At that time, Dan and I already lived together for several years, so the detective also spied on him as well. I didn't like the fact that he periodically disappeared somewhere, and the hotel bills were suspicious, to say the least. In fact, of course, there was no love between us. Well, what kind of love could have blossomed between a 45-year-old and a young guy who recently graduated from college? But at least, could I count on a basic respect for everything I did for him? Apparently not. The detective worked well, and reading his report made me cry for the first time in 40 years. It did not fit into my head how two people closest to me could do this to me behind my back. Dan's betrayal was something that I clearly did not deserve. Yes, I could devote more time to him, but we have a purely contractual relationship. He could say that he fell in love and found another. I would understand. We would somehow solve this issue. And he preferred to hide and support some youngster with my money. My heart did not break from this, but it was horrible. But my daughter, my dear little son, the only joy in my life, even though I never told her about it, turned out to be rather a fiend of hell. At 15, she did things that never even occurred to me. Boys, alcoholic parties, running away from home, and most importantly, behind my back, she actively blackmailed Dan. That is, she knew that my man was cheating on me, but instead of coming to her mother, she chose to make money on it. I don't know how I can go on living now. I can't just return home and look into the eyes of those closest to me, who are actually much further from me than everyone else. It really is said that only those whom we let into our souls really hurt us, and the most horrible thing is that nothing can be fixed. What do you think about this story and its characters? Leave some likes, share your opinion on the matter in the comments, share the video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for new and exciting stories.